This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm delighted today to be joined by Vigneron Laurent Miquel, who is joining us all the way from one of his vineyard sites in Saint-Chinian. How are you today, sir?
Hi, Jimmy. I'm fine. And you? How are you? Good?
Good, good, good. Thank you very much. Now, you have two different vineyard sites that are quite far apart, reasonably, but very, very different in both with what they're planted to and also their climatic conditions and their soils.
Yes, we have the family estate, the nest of the family, which is Casalviel in the south of Saint-Chinian-Appellation, Clay. It's about 130 meters of altitude, 150. And then the second vineyard is in the village of La Grasse. It's called Les Osines. It's about 340 meters of altitude. It's about 30 minutes from Carcassonne, which is one of the most visited places in France with the Mont Saint-Michel. So a good place to go. And in the Corbière, Les Osines vineyard, this is where we have planted the Albariño. And here in Casaviel, it's, I would say, the main production for Viognier, which is one of our specialty.
Now, I have to ask you, why Albariño? Because you now have the largest plantings of Albariño within France, I believe.
Yes, well, there are not too many hectares of Albariño. I think around maybe, I will say 35 or 40 hectares, and we have 25 hectares. So we started planting Albariño. It was in 2011 in the Corbière. So the idea is to well, first of all, I love Albariño. It's a grape I've discovered by traveling. I was lucky to, to go to different places in the world. And also near us, we have Barcelona, which is an amazing place for restaurants, seafood restaurant. And this is really where I started to start loving Albariño with some fish, with some seafood. And one day I decided to try this varietal. One of the reason is here we are near the sea, we are near the Mediterranean Sea, and we have lovely seafood. And in this region, it's funny, but 80% of the production is red berries.
Yeah.
And there is still a lack of fresh, white wine, a bit like I will say Picpoul de Pinet, but Picpoul de Pinet is okay, but it's not noble. I think Albariño, I would say it's one of the top five varietal for white wine in the world. I think if you have a good bottle of Albariño, you can really, have as much pleasure as when you drink a wine from a Chablis or from New Zealand, a Sauvignon Blanc, or from Sancerre, or different things, but same kind of a top white wine. I really recommend to try those varietals. They are very modern wines, unbelievable. I think lots of character, and it
I,
goes very well with like food like seafood, like sushi, also cold cuts. It's really interesting.
I have to ask you, well, actually, if we start with the soil, Rieth Baichas, Albariño seems to thrive best in the kind of sandy granitic soils there. Quite different soils you have in Corbière, no?
In fact, the soil is something. I think Albariño, I think likes places where you have a restrictive soil, where you have
Right.
a kind of a restriction. If you have too much power in the soil, you can really make a lot of yield, and then you lose the character of the Albariño. So this is very important to plant Albariño in soil, which is here we call that the classified soil, the AOC soil.
Yep.
So planting Albariño in the Corbière, where you have like huge difficulties to grow, to produce. It's not very fertile. It's the vines are struggling. And the second thing, which is very important, is the humidity level in the the humidity level very important. Albariño produce small berries, with very thick skins, so very resistant to humidity. I think with Albariño, we never had any issues with disease, or it's very, very strong. It's quite strong, also resistant to mechanical constraint like the wind. And in the Corbière, it's very windy.
Yeah.
You know, people they call well, here in Béziers, which is my nearest local town, we have a rugby a club, a very famous rugby club called ASBH. And in the Corbière, it's in the other county, and it's they have also famous rugby club, and it's a big fight between the two clubs. And the people from Béziers, they call the people from the Lode the tête plate, the flat head.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they say that every morning when they open the windows, it's so windy, they put their hands like
I've
that
heard of
on the
this.
front because it's windy. You've heard about that? Well, so they call us the empty head. You know, you have to know that before. so there is a big competition, but wind is a very important factor in the Corbière, and I think Albariño is quite resistant to those conditions. But humidity, good soil, which is not so fertile and quite restrictive in terms of production. If you have access to some natural water or the system, you can really produce very balanced, very I will say I call it dynamic wines. You know, a lot of freshness, a lot of minerality, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. We have a
No,
really high level of acidity, natural acidity in this wine. It's quite amazing because we are in near two different cities. We use two different laboratory. How do you say that? Lab, you know, where
laboratories.
we do the
Yes. Yep.
analysis, and they are very surprised by the pH of the wine. You know, it's stunning. It's like if you were doing an analysis of a wine from Sancerre or from
Yeah.
Chablis. We're not used to that kind of things. People are very surprised. Like,
I can imagine.
and this is something. It's like it goes against the conditions. You know, so it's really interesting. So we're still experimenting with this varietal, and I'm planning to extend the production. We have an amazing success. Well, limited because it's 25 hectares, but I
Yeah.
mean in some markets it's quite interesting. So we're going to probably grow, but you have to be very careful where you plant this variety. It's you know, you need to find a good place. And it's funny because where we have planted Albariño, we tried to plant a bit of Viognier to see, you know, just as
Yeah.
an experiment, and it doesn't work at all.
Interesting.
It's too humid, too cold for the Viognier, and it doesn't like that. You know, you see the leaves there. You can see the vineyard
Yep.
is talking to you. It's like it's a bit ugly, you know. So actually, we're thinking of putting out the vines because they every year is with this Viognier. It's a concern.
Now, your
And in
family have been
Casaviel,
sorry, your family have been making wine for centuries now. How do they feel about you bringing in these interlopers from Spain?
well, my father is also someone who has tried a lot of things. He was the person who actually introduced the Viognier in the south of France. So thanks to him, and he tried also the Syrah in the 70s, Cabernet Sauvignon. He was not afraid of trying things, and
Yes.
so I think I've got this kind of way of thinking also. So no, I was lucky because in fact his father, from what I've heard, he was not like that at all. He was saying
Right.
no to everything. So you know, he's doing the difficulties he had with his father. Now he has a different view, and he's very you know, he say go ahead, try things. I mean, it's interesting. It's we're looking in the south of France. We are you know, in France we have many laws, and if you are vigneron in Sancerre or in Chablis, you cannot experiment things. It's more
Yes.
difficult.
Yep.
In Languedoc, it's kind of it's an area for experimentation, and in a way, it's interesting. In the other hand, it's you know, when you have something established with a good image and a good notoriety, it's easier in terms of running
Of
a
course.
vineyard. But I like the fact that we are trying things. Sometimes we make mistakes, huh?
Huh.
And we learn from the mistakes. But it's interesting. Yeah.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about the story behind your father introducing Viognier to the Languedoc?
Well, I think it's a bit like me. Huh? He has always been crazy about Côte Rôtie, which is an amazing red wine with Syrah, and they put a bit of Viognier, sometimes up to 20%.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a red wine, very elegant, it's a very small production, and it's a lovely wine. So my father wanted to grow this kind of wine, so he planted a Syrah and a bit of Viognier. That was his first idea. Because in Languedoc, I would say the local classical varietals were Carignan, Ramon, Cinsault, Grenache, and those varietals that
Yes.
were quite resistant. They were the genuine varietals from this area for red wines, but he wanted to try something different. This was a kind of in the 70s. It was a bit of a revolution. It was a and it was risky, because when you plant a vineyard, you have to wait 3 years before you get any fruits, and
Yeah.
then you make wine once a year. So it can be a drama, if you if you make a mistake. And so it was quite risky to do that. And thanks for those people who actually gave us a way of doing different things.
Now, Viognier
And
can
today
be
the
a
Languedoc, is very one of the most dynamic place for wine in the wine industry in France. Is probably one of the most dynamic place.
yeah, I agree with you there. Now, Viognier can be a bit of a polarizing grape for people. I've always had a great affection for a well-made Viognier, and right now I'm tasting your Nord Sud Viognier, which is
Yes.
available in our market right now. Would you mind telling us the story behind this? Because I find it kind of fascinating that you can maintain such a level of acidity and crispness in this Viognier. And there's a very particular
Yeah.
story behind that, right?
Well, first of all, we have planted the Viognier in the Saint-Chinian terroir. And in Saint-Chinian, we cannot call Saint-Chinian. It's Saint-Chinian because it's a unique varietal. But it's planted on actually Appellation Contrôlée Saint-Chinian.
Right.
So amazing terroir with a lot of calcaire, a lot of minerality, in the soil, and the balance of the wine gives this freshness. And the second thing, we have planted the vineyard in the north-south direction.
Hence the name. Yeah.
That's why we call
Yeah.
this wine north-south. And so you get the way it's planted, you get a very gentle sun in the morning, and then also less sun in the evening when the sun is going down. So when the sun is going up, you get gentle light from the morning, and at the end of the day, when it's very hot here in July, August, maybe too hot for anything here, and you get a gentle sun, not too much sun. And at midday, when the sun is the closest to the place,
Yes.
this is where you have the highest level of energy. You get the leaves that protect your fruits. So actually, you get the shadow from the leaves. So it's
Yes.
actually very good for those varietals. And the other thing is, in that directions, we have the main wind is coming perpendicularly to the canopy. So it's kind of for the Viognier is very important because it's a bit like the Syrah Viognier. You have the shoots that goes down. So we spend a lot amount of time putting the shoots back,
Yeah.
managing the canopy. It's not like the way the Viognier and also the Syrah behave is very different than Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. That's why people don't plant so many Viognier, because there is it's much more heavy in terms of the numbers of
Yes.
hours to
Yep.
spend in the vineyard. It's very labor intensive, and it's a crazy varietal, but it makes amazing, like very aromatic berries. It's consistent. Viognier likes places where the vines struggle. Very hot, very dry, very So what we do to have this kind of a freshness is the way we manage the vineyard, canopy management, the way we plant, also the when we pick up the fruits. You know, if you pick up the fruits too late, you can have a high level of alcohol in the Viognier, and this is you have to avoid that. So we use a bit of drip irrigation, which is important also to help the vine sometimes to
I didn't know that.
you know, to avoid the critical stress. The way also we have our vineyard. Most of the vineyard is covered by grass, you know, to avoid a specific grass, to make a kind of a competition also with the. This is very important, and also we have manual intervention in the vineyard in a way that in the morning we the face which is oriented east, sorry, where you have the in the morning, this is where you have the sun coming onto the fruits. What we do, we remove the adult leaves. We go by hand and we remove the adult leaves to get a lot of sun in the morning when it's not too hot. And by opposition, you know, on the other face, on the north face, we leave like a kind of an extra level of canopy to protect.
Yeah, that makes sense.
From the sun in the evening, because in the evening here is late, you know, from 7 o'clock, 5 o'clock until 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. is very, very hot here. Very, you know, it's too hot for the vineyard. You can see this is when you see the leaves, they're starting to turn a bit, you know, you touch them, they're a bit hot. Sometimes they have some critical stress. So by doing that, we are protecting our vineyard against the heat. So those, you know, small things that gives I will say a balance to the wine. And also, you know, the pruning system, we have a different pruning system for the Viognier. We don't do double cordon de Roya. We use the Guyot pruning.
Yes,
because again, we don't want too low yield, you know. If it's too low yield and you have so much energy, you create kind of a lot of sugar. You don't want that. You want to find a balance. And because we have a soil with restriction, this is where you find the balance.